It's inevitable. You can't escape it. Doesn't matter who, and it doesn't matter for what. But there exists a force that binds us all to a much different time. And there's not a single thing you could ever do about it. Nostalgia! We all have nostalgia for something, right? It might be an old song you used to listen to a lot, that one cartoon you obsessed over for a time, or even a video game you played when you were just a little kid. If you grew up or were born in the early 2000s, then there are two games that are, in my opinion, the undisputed champs of online video game nostalgia for so many people. Club Penguin and Toontown Online. Back when Disney was good. I miss those days. Now, I'll be honest here. I never really got into Club Penguin. I tried it a few times, it was cool, but I just never really stuck with it. I did like that Cardjutsu game though. That was fun. But that's beside the point. As you may have guessed, since I wasn't a Club Penguin kid, that means I was a Toontown kid. Though I never actually paid the subscription for it. I just kept making free accounts over and over again, running through all the different playgrounds, seeing all the different cogs, just exploring and never actually playing the game really. It was a bit too dumb to realize there were more tasks to do beyond the tutorial at that age, I guess. Later on, after its shutdown, I would stumble upon Toontown Rewritten in 2017 after going on a nostalgia trip. Actually experiencing the game for the first time was pretty magical, honestly. All the memories of running around Toontown hit me like a truck, and I was hooked. It was something I ended up playing a lot during one of the lowest points in my life. It was one of the things that helped me stay going when I first got my Crohn's disease. It was a messy time, but I had a needed escape thanks to it. All this to say that Toontown is a game that will be forever near and dear to my heart. However that may be, the game is by no means perfect. A lot of the tasks are egregiously grindy. Though I guess it couldn't be helped much since it was an MMO. That's kind of what they're known for. Another gripe I have with the game, and the subject of today's video, is the design of the various enemies you fight. Don't get me wrong, the look of the various cogs in Toontown will forever be iconic. But they really cut some corners when implementing the designs from 2D concepts into 3D assets. It was the early 2000s, and they were making it for an MMO no less. So they obviously did what they had to make sure that just about any computer could run it and no servers blew up. But some of these are just pretty lazy if you look at them. You know what? This doesn't feel like a proper avatar for this discussion. Hold on. Much better. Now then, where were we? Yes. My gripes with some of the Toontown cog heads. I say the head specifically because that's where the core of their design lies. Here is the Toontown cog gallery. We can see all the different looks of the 32 unique enemies in the 4 cog branches. Sellbots, Cashbots, Lawbots, and Bossbots. Now, after looking at this image for a bit, you begin to notice something. What is it, you might ask? Well, it's the fact that some of them aren't that unique. The gold collar is just a blue or short change. The only difference between the telemarketer and the spin doctor is that one of them went to med school and changed pigment. The yes men, the glad hander, and the Mr. Hollywood all share the same award-winning smile, and there is literally no difference between the bean counter and the downsizer. At least there's a difference between the yes men's head and the Mr. Hollywood's head. At least they made the glad hander's head a bit squishier. There is genuinely no difference between those two models. Now, I don't have a problem with reusing a base model for a cog. You you can be really clever with it. The Toontown team even proved that by, actually doing it. Look closely at the Two-Face and the Mingler there. Notice anything? How about now? It's the same exact base model. See, that's a clever use of reusing assets. They also do it with the Mr. Hollywood and Robber Baron. It's the same shape, the same base, just different textures. Now, I am by no means an expert on design, but I'd like to think I have just a bit more creativity than the average Joe. Not to mention I'm not held back by the ancient 90s modeling software the Toontown team was stuck with way back when, so I figured I'd try my hand at some redesigns. The plan is to break this up into 4 videos, each one covering one of the different cog branches, starting with the Sellbots and working our way to the BossBots. Now, for these redesigns, I'm going to keep them in a very low poly style. As much as I'd love to go hog wild and whip up a bunch of Corporate Clash or Event Horizon level stylized models, all rigged and animated out the wazoo, I am still very much an amateur 3D artist. I'm not to that level quite yet. The avatar you saw earlier was actually modeled by a good friend of mine. Shout out to B. Kaiser. However, I've been working on mimicking the OG Toontown style with some of my own cog OCs. And honestly, I think I do a pretty good job for not fully understanding how to optimize with tries properly. It's not too hard once you understand the basic geometry of all the cog heads. I'll yap about that a bit more once I start breaking down the designs. So, I'm going to try and emulate the original style while adding my own spin to things, and overall trying to add some much needed detail and make the head shapes for each cog more unique. Because quite frankly, once you have a hold on the style, it isn't that hard to make unique head shapes. You got it? Good. Without further ado, let's get into the designs. Starting things off, we have the first tier cog of the Sellbots, the Cold Collar. Now, this guy is very simple. Don't believe me? Watch. Modeling speedrun. Timer set, and cue the dream speedrun music. Make a cylinder, pentagon, squish it a bit, cut it in half, extrude, merge, 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 and done. Not too bad a time. I'd like to see someone beat that. But yeah, that's literally the shape of the Cold Collar. A tall pentagon with a ridge for a nose. The majority of the cog's heads aren't actually pentagons if you just look at them. The base is a pentagon, and the heads top off with a pentagon. I probably find this far more interesting than I should. Oh well. Anyway, for a lot of these redesigns, I decided to take what we have as a base and build off of them. A lot of inspiration from these guys are going to come from the Toontown Online trading cards, if you've ever seen those. The Cold Collar is no exception. If you take a look at the art, you can see that the Cold Collar depicted there is very obviously covered in or possibly even made of ice. So I decided to lean into that. Gave him a big ol' icicle nose, added some icicle spike hair. Now the base model looks pretty good. But if you look at any model in Toontown, the majority of the detail is in the textures. So obviously, we're gonna need some good ones. Now, I do them myself, but my 2D art is... Yeah, I'm not great at traditional art. And even if I was, I don't know how to properly texture paint. And I'm not about to try without a drawing tablet of some kind. No way I'd be able to get something I'm happy with using a mouse. No, not that one. Better. Luckily, I know someone. Saren, we need to cook. This is Serenxt, a friend I made through the Toontown the Grindworks community Discord server. Shout out to Toontown the Grindworks. And more importantly, someone who knows how to actually texture models. Because the way I typically do texture work is kinda scuffed, admittedly. So, since they've agreed to help me out with this little project of mine, which I am so grateful for, I'll just be sending Saren the base models I make with some instructions and references to go off of for the design. Man, making these models is so easy when you're only doing half the work. Shocker, I know. Already? That was quick. So, here's the final product. I'm gonna go ahead and visualize these guys via the Toontown the Grindworks cog creator. I'm not gonna make my own cog bodies for this series because rigging is already a form of torture without having to figure out proper weight painting, and I'm not a masochist. And though there are public cog rigs out there, I have yet to find one that doesn't completely break into a confusing mess of bones when imported into Blender. So, this is gonna be the easiest way for everyone. And by everyone, I mean me. Next up, the telemarketer. Honestly, I don't really know what to say about this guy. He's just a dude. I know the majority of the cogs are just people, but come on, look at him! What has he got going for him? The glad hander looks glad. The mover and shaker looks ready to move and or shake. The mingler looks ready to mingle. The ambulance chaser looks ready to chase an ambulance. But what does a telemarketer look like? Is that expression ready to telemarket? Or maybe he's been telemarketing all day and he's a little worn out. I feel like he's the blandest of all the cogs to me. At least his cousin has a little headband thing and a medical degree. So, I thought about how to really make him stand out a bit more. Make him ever so slightly more distinguished. Going between something simple like making him look a bit more chatty to something drastic like fully turning his head into a phone, a la phone guy from Day Shift at Freddy's. Then, it hit me. Something to add to him. Something so simple, yet character defining. And it would fit with the whole tele part of the telemarketer. I molded an entire rotary phone to his head.
Why?
Okay, I know that's a design choice that probably feels a bit out of left field, but hear me out. I could have simply given him an earpiece. It's something that was featured in his trading card, and many other artists have adapted it to their renditions of the character, such as the Event Horizon team. But I wanted to try and exaggerate things just a bit, just as a way to compensate for how bland he's always seemed to me. And honestly, I really like it. I want to bring out a bit more zaniness to some of these designs. I know the whole thing about the cog is that they're meant to hate fun and want to bring down Toontown because of it. But with how full of puns their names and some of their designs actually are, then I can't feel too bad about making them look a bit goofier. Oh, who am I kidding? One of them is a literal walking wedge of cheese. I don't think a guy with a phone melted onto his skin is too out of proportion here. Next, cog. Here we have the name dropper. All things considered, I think her design is pretty suitable. Big ol' mouth to drop some names with. She has a very pulled back facial structure and hairstyle to fit what a stereotypical businesswoman looked like in some older cartoons and media, if that makes any sense. I'm sure you get what I mean. You're all smart. I can't say I have any real problems with how she looks. It definitely works. So for this one, I think I'll just add to some of her features and give her some that were depicted in the old trading cards but weren't quite translated to the model. Like her eyeglasses there. Good bit of a makeover there, and this girl boss is ready to continue girling and bossing. I should never say that again. That was terrible. Awful. Good lord. Next, cog. Ah, the glad hander. This is where we get into a bit of confusing territory. The glad hander shares the same texture as both the Yes Man and the Mr. Hollywood. Now, there's a choice that needs to be made here. Do we keep the look of that face exclusive to one of those three cogs, or do we have things be a bit similar for them? Personally, I'm gonna go with the latter option. Well, kind of. I have a particular plan in mind for Mr. Hollywood, and a half plan for Yes Men later down the line. I'll get it fully figured out by the time we get there. As for this guy, I do actually want to keep the design mostly the same here. I think it fits his rotund nature. However, I think our gladiator here can be a bit more jovial, so his expression will be changed to always look like he's mid-laughter. When looking at his trading card, he also appears to be bald. Now I know his texture is balding, so it's very likely that the hair is just hidden in the image. But I honestly like the look on him. Gonna give him a bit of fashion by having him rock a singular ear stud, and now he looks like a very happy club bouncer. It's very minor changes, all things considered, but I don't think you always need to make drastic changes to a design. If it ain't broke, add a bit of shine and call it new. That's probably someone saying. Next, Cog, the mover and shaker. A pretty iconic cog, all things considered. Back in the OG Toontown days, he had his very own special type of building called a field office, and they were added into TTR a few years ago as well. Though, I guess he kinda shares it with the cold caller since he has his own minigame floor as well. Now, for his redesign, I once again turned to the trading card for inspiration. Oh my goodness gracious! What happened to this man's jawline? Disney, you monsters! You couldn't let the man have a facial structure? When putting this poor soul together on the assembly line, you took one look at the design and said, "No, tube. This is an injustice I shan't stand for I will—" Yeah, we're giving him a different head shape. So along with giving him his jaw back, we're gonna open up his eyes a bit to change up his expression, make his complexion match the trading card art just to give him a bit more of a robotic touch, and give him one of those chunky Bluetooth earpieces from the early 2000s. Come on, he seems like the type to loudly blab into one of those in a public area. Don't tell me he isn't, because that's a lie. Next, Cog. Here we have the Two-Face. No, not that one. Again, not that one. Still, not that one. Are you stupid or something? I told you it. Oh, wait, yeah, no, that's the right one. Not a whole lot to analyze here. It's called a Two-Face. It has two faces. If they didn't design him that way, they probably would have just... yeah, now you can show an image of that one. For his redesign, I want to take what Toontown gave us and just push it to be a bit more extreme. Ugh, not like that though. Ugh. I want to take the happy fake face of the Two-Face and make it seem a bit more hollow, flawed even. Just tacked on with a few staples while hiding his more monstrous side. And just add a bit of an homage to the other Two-Face. All of the hair on his monstrous side be white. Next, Cog. Alright, looks like we're on to the Mangler. Hey! I see some of you back there. Don't think I can't. Start acting weird in this section and I'll bust out the spray bottle. Looking at you, Joseph. You know who you are. Now then, back to business. In terms of redesign, I'm not actually gonna do too much really. Her look is honestly too iconic to change drastically. I'm just gonna round out the face shape, make the hair look more distinct, and have her expression be in a permanent wink. I've seen a good amount of fan art with her already having that, and I honestly think it fits. I'm pretty sure she doesn't have it already, but the texture is so wonky it's impossible to tell. At one point, I had a friend suggest that I try to incorporate some chameleon-esque elements, since someone who mingles often would probably adjust their mannerisms to best schmooze whoever it is they're talking to. Like a social chameleon of sorts. I like the idea, but I also feel like her look is so iconic that a drastic direction change like that wouldn't work well. So I decided to keep the look accurate while giving the model a much needed overhaul. I don't think it needs to be a whole lot more than that if I'm being honest. Next, Cog. Last, but definitely not least, the final Sellbot, Mr. Hollywood. I said earlier during the Glad-Handed redesign that I had a plan for him. Well, here it is. I want to take some heavy inspiration from this. To my knowledge, and please take what I'm about to say here with a grain of salt on the chance I'm wrong, this is a piece of concept art that was made by someone on the original Toontown team. From what I've heard, this was either a concept for the scrapped Toontown 2.0 that was in development for a time, or this was just something made for fun after Toontown Online died. Either way, this is a glimpse into what could have been a major stylistic overhaul for Toontown, and I don't think it should go to waste. So for my design, I want to try and take the design cues from what could have been, mix it with what we have, and throw a touch or two of my own in there. I'm not gonna say it's perfect, but I think it's something that ended up being pretty unique. And there you go, my take on the Toontown Sellbots. I want to once again shout out Serenxt for providing the texture work for all these designs. They would not have turned out nearly as authentic looking if not for Seren. Seriously, you are so talented, and I pray you'll be willing to put up with me for the remainder of this series.
I want to shout out my boy Inky Bun, who helped me with a bit of the graphic design work for the thumbnail of the video. I also want to shout out Draw the Bean, who made the rig for this Toon avatar I've been using. After the majority of the production of this video was already completed, he also made me my own custom cog rigs, so I won't have to suffer through any janky ones in the future. I'm still going to use Grindworks for visualizing the cogs, but now I'll be able to put a bit more production value into the next video. Trust me, it's gonna be good.
Lastly, I want to shout out B. Kaiser, who made the model of me that was used in the thumbnail and in the beginning of this video. I am genuinely blessed to be able to work with such talented folks, and I'll be putting any relevant links of theirs in the description below. For anyone out there who plays Grindworks and like the design show here, I'll be releasing a pack for them in the Grindworks Discord server. That way you can have them in your copy of the game, or you can just download the models to mess around with if you really want. I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description as well. And like I said before, I really want to make this a full series, overhauling every single one of the 32 original Toontown cogs. And if you liked what you saw, I hope you'll stick around for when the next part comes out. I got a whole lot more to yap about and 24 more cogs to analyze and improve. So, if you feel like it, subscribe to see when we get to the cash bots. Until the next one, peace out.